In this video, I will be talking about the web design trends for 2026, about code brutalism, about lo-fi design, and about what AI has to do with all that. So, let's get started. It's dark outside, it's cold outside, we have officially reached the dark season, and you know what that means for us designers. It's time to talk about web design, about design trends for the upcoming year. Me personally, I'm always a big fan of reading what others have to say, and to be fair, very often it's the same things. Big visuals, big typography, animations, videos, you know, the same trends we have been warming up every year ever since the internet? I don't know. But in this year things are a little different, and I'm actually a huge fan of this year's or next year's program. To be fair, this video is not completely my work, my research, but it's based on an article by the amazing Ioana Teleanu, or UX Goodies, as you might know her. UX Goodies, Ioana, she has a newsletter which you should totally subscribe to. I will link it down below in the description. And in her latest edition of her newsletter, she wrote about the web aesthetics, design aesthetics for 2026. And I'm a huge fan of her prognosis. I'm a huge fan of what she has been writing. So I thought I will tell you about it in this video. The underlying theme of this article is that it's not so much about what colors or what fonts or what videos are coming up in the next year, but that it's more about how design and how culture are dealing with the rise of AI and how the new tool set, the new trends are reflecting in our work as designers. So I have picked out a couple of trends from Ioana's article, and we are starting with code brutalism. Code brutalism is a trend we have been able to observe for a while now on the net, but it seems to become more and more prominent. We look at designs that do remind us of the good old times of Unix, of DOS, of, you know, like the early days of computing when we had purely command line, purely text-based interfaces. In code brutalism, it's all about monospace typography, on mimicking programming or command line interfaces that give this design trend a very utilitarian, very tech authentic, and very raw look. With ASCII arts, with cursor icons, with wireframe diagrams. Code brutalism is not only about nostalgia or about the feeling of, you know, past days, past computer interfaces, but it's more about the control that the user, that the human has over the machine. And you can combine code brutalism with trend number 2, Lofi Pixels. The Lofi Pixel trend reminds us of early computer graphics, of 8-bit or 16-bit computer graphics with pixel art, throwing us back to the 1980s, to the 1990s, the early days of computing, when we had 256 colors at most and we had to kind of make the best out of it. The use of chunky graphics and desert images is how these lo-fi pixels reflect in current web designs. Especially when you combine them with high-end graphics, you can create a kind of understatement using these lo-fi pixels. Which brings me to trend number 3, Desktopcore. So recently we have been observing a wave of nostalgia from the early 2000s. Skeuomorphism, flat design, everything. The whole tactile charm of early day computer operating systems is what you can find on websites today. Earlier this year, I have been posting a video about websites that are trying to mimic desktop interfaces, and this trend has not stopped. It has accelerated. We do see more and more websites that not only look like old versions of macOS, old versions of Windows XP, Windows 95, 98, and so on, but that also behave in a similar way. We have windows, we have icons, we have mini games and settings and the whole shebang. This trend definitely feels very gimmicky, very fun, but also very interactive and playful, and it can help you stand out from the crowd, make your website fun and engaging and kind of unique. Speaking of optimism, we have to talk about trend number 4, Y3K Hyperfuturism. Wow, that's a lot. So, Hyperfuturism or Y3K Hyperfuturism is kind of based on a trend from the early 2000s or the late 90s, the so-called Y2K cyber optimism. Back in the day, we had a lot of futuristic ideas in fashion design and hardware design, and yes, also in graphic design, imagining how the year 2000 or how modern tech, future tech could look and feel and behave like. And now we have the same, but set in a more distant future, allegedly. Hyperfuturism comes with sleek and experimental shapes and materials, fluid metals, chrome, crystal, 3D blobs floating in space. It's wild. It's really, really cool to look at and kind of half digital, half organic at times, almost fantastical and maximalist. I personally enjoy this trend a lot because it feels not grounded in anything, but very, very optimistic and very imaginative. Which brings me to trend number 5, dreamy and eerie interfaces. Well, so this one I have not been able to observe so much in interface design, but more in the actual visuals, graphic design, or more so in generated images. This dreamcore trend is something that has been enabled by image generation a lot. The balance between gentle and eerie, soft, diffuse lighting, pastel or muted colors is something that make up for these images. You will often find flowers, stars, or landscape visuals in these images, often combined and very fantastical. A great example is the branding of Perplexity, who are using this style a lot on their website and their marketing materials. I kind of like this trend because it feels very calm and very grounding, but at the same time fantastical and elevating without being too energetic or too loud. But it's something that, kind of feels nice and comforting. I don't know, it's a cool visual trend to look at and something that is actually possible by generative AI a lot. The complete opposite is trend number 6, Kidcore or MySpace Core as I would call it. So Kidcore is definitely a digital nostalgic trend inspired by collaging, inspired by scrapbooking, blending different medias, different materials like photography, illustrations, typography, 3D renders into like these rich layered compositions where details can be very loud or even dissonant at times. These are the things that you might have seen in a rosé music video or on an album cover of Charli XCX. It's these visuals taking a break from strict design rules, trying to mimic this DIY or UGC style, having a lot of fun and trying to be super authentic. The website I have been interacting a lot with recently is Perfectly Imperfect, a social network that is taking this style to the next level by reminding us a lot on the good old MySpace days. So these are 6 different trends which I have picked from Joanna's article. Of course there is much more, so make sure you read the article as I have linked it down below. What we can definitely observe as a trend for the upcoming year is the embrace of imperfection, the refusal of automation, and the idea of showing authenticity, showing humanity, mankind. And here this neo-nostalgia is not so much a style or a vibe, but it's actually the material that we're working with. It's not for kitsch, but for memory. As Joanna puts it in her article, these themes reflect more than a visual taste. They are a response to our tools, our platforms, our histories. And they are a protest. Aesthetics in the AI era aren't about what is cool, artsy, trendy. They need to be about what feels necessary to remember, reclaim, and subvert.